An absolutely massive patch is ahead of us with over 25 item and rune changes hitting the Rift. Our team at SkillCapped is ready to break it all down for you guys so you can get ahead of everyone else. But before we get into it, be sure to check out SkillCapped if you want to truly get better at League of Legends. We're the only service that offers a money-back guarantee if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using our service. We do this because our service really does work, and if it doesn't work for you, you shouldn't pay. Learn more at the end of this video or click the link in the description below. Let's start off by running down the item and rune changes that will pertain to most top lane picks. Lethal Tempo is seeing some really interesting adjustments, as you'll now gain attack speed as a stacking effect similar to how Conqueror works. Each attack grants a stack, and once you reach a max of 6, you gain extra range and can exceed the attack speed cap. Max attack speed is 90% for melee and only 30% for ranged. Watch out for champions who deal the majority of their damage from autos like Jax and Tryndamere, as they have the potential to see great success with the rune. First Strike is a brand new rune, and it's got a similar vibe to Kleptomancy. We'll go into more detail about the rune in our Season 12 item and rune guide, but in short, when you proc First Strike, you will deal 10% extra damage, and that extra damage is granted to you as gold. Cooldown is 25 scaling to 15 seconds, so it's not something you can continuously spam every second. Key champs to keep an eye on with First Strike are ranged top laners like Kennen, Jace, and Quinn. A lot of power from the rune is going to come from accelerating into your mid-game spike faster. This will make the rune rather situational, as you wouldn't want to run it in matchups where you can't consistently proc off cooldown. Tank top laners are going to see a significant power shift for 11.23, as Sunfire Aegis will be buffed. Armor and magic resist are increased from 30 to 35. Passive damage is increased as well, and you'll now gain 50 health from Mythic passive on top of the tenacity. We've already seen champs like Shen and Poppy rise up with Conqueror and Gore Drinker nerfed, so another indirect buff is more fuel to the fire. It's not just Sunfire though, as Frostfire Gauntlet will have its passive damage slightly lowered in exchange for more burst. When creating the Frost Field with your attacks, you'll now deal damage instead of just slowing the enemy. It's basically like the old Iceborne Gauntlet if you can remember back. This will be great for the likes of Malphite, Cho'Gath, and Mundo, among other tanks who already run Gauntlet. Now, you might just be thinking, well, what about Ezreal? And you got a good point. In order to combat Ez from abusing the item, the damage and slow from the Frost Field are reduced for ranged characters. Overall, the item adds more burst potential for tanks, which is a bit controversial to say the least, as someone like Ornn already feels like an assassin if you're a squishy and get full comboed. Abyssal Mask will have its passive reworked. While near enemies, you will curse them, reducing their magic resist, and for each cursed enemy, you'll gain magic resist yourself. Nothing too crazy about this one, as we can see Abyssal as a good situational tank item when against heavy AP. Winter's Approach is a brand new addition, and it's a tier tank item. Winter's Approach provides health, mana, and ability haste, along with a passive that grants bonus health equal to 8% mana. When you have a tier full stacked, the item transforms into Fimbul Winter, and the passive offers a shield when you immobilize or slow an enemy. This shield is only on an 8-second cooldown. Now, the fact that Winter's Approach doesn't provide any armor or magic resist makes it a little odd for tank picks. At the same time, the item doesn't offer any offensive stats, so will someone like Ryze prioritize this over Archangels? We feel a lot of experimenting will have to go into this item, as it's a lot more uncertain as to how powerful it may be. What do you guys think of Winter's Approach? The fact that the passive shield cooldown on Fimbul Winter is only 8 seconds could lead to it being really strong. For example, Maokai's point-and-click W is a guaranteed immobilizing effect and on a 9-second cooldown at max rank. Q is also very easy to land, so throughout an extended fight, you'd be guaranteed at least 2 shield procs. There could also be some crazy synergy with an Everfrost into Winter's Approach combo for battle mages like Ryze. Alright, enough with the theory crafting, let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. So, for the complete top lane tier list, Tom will become even more insane for 11.23 as the Frostfire changes will offer more damage potential. Our picks to watch for top lane in preseason include tanks like Malphite, Shen, and Poppy, already very lethal S tier options before the changes who will only become stronger. With tanks on the rise, it could really open things up for someone like Vayne with First Strike to dominate. Ranged tops into melee picks without strong mobility may be feasting in preseason. Like we mentioned, Tryndamere and Jax are picks to keep an eye on with the new Lethal Tempo. Conqueror was just recently nerfed too, so it gives you even more incentive to run with Lethal Tempo instead. Moving on to some more jungle related changes, we have a new lethality item to talk about. Axiom Arc will provide AD, lethality, and haste, while the passive is where things get spicy. Whenever a champion dies within 3 seconds of you damaging them, your ultimate cooldown will be refunded by 25%. On paper, Axiom seems like the pub stomp snowball option that will allow you to run away with the lead. Turbo Chem Tank will see a mini rework to its passive. The Immolate passive will be removed and replaced by a passive very similar to what you see on Dead Man's Plate. You'll gain stacks, and at max stacks, your next basic attack deals bonus magic damage to all nearby enemies. For champs who like to incorporate a ton of movement speed like Udyr and Skarner, these changes will be great. Another item focused around movement speed and Force of Nature has a couple alterations on the way. Magic resist is increased from 60 to 70. The passive will now grant you stacks of Steadfast when taking magic damage from enemies, and at 6 stacks, you take 20% reduced damage and gain 10% move speed. Surely a very situational item, as you will need a good amount of magic damage hitting you in order to stack the passive quickly. A small indirect nerf to certain fighters and assassins is penciled in, with Ghostblade finally being nerfed. Cost of the item is increased from 2,900 to 3,000 gold. So many champs, including Graves, Kha'Zix, Talon, and Qiyana, have been abusing a Ghostblade rush, so this nerf helps to lower their power level ever so slightly. On the other hand, lethality mythics are actually being buffed. This one definitely comes as a bit of a surprise, considering a solo queue assassin meta has been in full force throughout most of Season 11. Eclipse will cost 100 gold less, and its passive cooldown is lowered from 8 to 6 seconds for melee. Ranged cooldown stays at 16 seconds. Duskblade cost is also lowered by 100 gold, and the passive damage is increased for melee but nerfed for range. This decision is quite odd, because there are very few ranged characters who even abuse Duskblade right now. MF and Xayah prefer Eclipse, so nerfing Duskblade for ranged while keeping Eclipse the same is a bit of a head scratcher. This will just further emphasize an Eclipse pickup for ranged champs who want a lethality mythic. Prowler's Claw will see the exact same cost reduction, and its active damage is increased. All in all, really solid bump for AD assassins, and even though Ghostblade is slightly nerfed, these mythic buffs will easily make up for it. For our jungle tier list, we have Vi in the OP tier, as her recent quality of life fixes have propelled her into a really strong state. Diamond and above, Vi can still run into issues, but because our tier list is catered toward what's best in Diamond and below, Vi is on top of the list. Not only do the tank item buffs affect many top laners, but lots of tanks in the jungle too. Key junglers to watch for in 11.23 include Zac, Nunu, and Rammus. Master Yi with the new lethal tempo combined with an on-hit build of Kraken into Rageblade will be really strong for the lower elos. Qiyana with an item combination of Ghostblade into Axiom Arc may be the ultimate snowball build. Rengar is another jungler we are expecting to thrive with the item changes, as the mythic buffs combined with Axiom Arc offer a considerable power shift. Rengar Ultimate is such an impactful tool for solo queue. Being able to reduce it by 25% on takedowns is huge. If there's one champ who could actually end up rushing the item, Rengar would be who we'd expect. Moving on to mid lane focus changes, Doran's Ring mana regen is being altered. Instead of gaining 6 mana back on minion kills, you will receive 0.75 mana per second and 1.25 mana over 10 seconds when damaging an enemy. We will have an in-depth breakdown in our item guide as to how the power is shifted here, but in short, mana regen will remain very similar to before. Champions who like to trade aggressively will be rewarded more due to the mana back from landing spells. The removal of Rod of Ages and the shield from Seraphs had left many mages in very vulnerable positions throughout Season 11. Season 12 is looking to combat this, as the new Archangels will provide you with 5 less AP in exchange for 200 health. Instead of providing bonus AP, new passive will offer ability haste equal to 0.5% bonus mana. This is massive, as haste and more durability will make Archangels a more well-rounded pickup. Compared to AD builds, haste has been a stat less accessible to mages in Season 11, so Riot is looking to fix that for Season 12. Seraph's Embrace is becoming much stronger, as the AP is going from 65 to 80. You will now have 250 health and gain ability haste equal to 1.3% bonus mana. Although you're losing some ability power from the passive change, extra base AP, health, and ability haste will more than make up for it. Mages like Cassio, Ryze, Kassadin, Orianna, and Anivia will become indirectly stronger for Season 12. The 250 bonus health will go a long way in helping the shorter range mages like Ryze, as he needs to get up close to deal his damage, and will inevitably take his fair share in return while doing so. Everfrost cost is down by 400 gold, while AP is lowered by 10 and Mythic passive AP down by 5. A quicker spike in exchange for less stats is a beneficial trade-off. Many champions who build Everfrost like to transition into Seraph 2nd or 3rd, so being able to hit that Seraph spike faster will feel great. Crown of the Shattered Queen is a brand new AP mythic with a defensive Malzahar-like passive. Item will only cost 2,800 gold. 70 AP, 250 health, 600 mana, and 20 ability haste are the base stats. Passive is called Safeguard, and while active, you'll reduce incoming damage by 50% for 1.5 seconds after taking champion damage. Cooldown on passive is 40 seconds. As for the mythic passive, you will receive 1% movement speed and 8 ability power per legendary item. So yet again, another mage item with a ton of durability added on. Situationally, against a heavy melee assassin comp, running Crown would help tremendously to nullify their threat. Vice versa though, against a heavy ranged comp where the passive is easily broken, you definitely won't find as much value. Switching themes, Shadow Flame is the complete opposite of Crown as it's the hyper-aggressive snowball AP item. Item is 3,000 gold and provides 100 AP along with 200 health. Passive provides 10 scaling to 20 magic pen based on enemy's health. Key to note though is that the lower the enemy's health, the more magic pen you receive. Item offers a shield shredding effect for mages as you automatically receive the max 20 pen when hitting a target who was recently shielded. Situationally, we see Shadow Flame slotting in as a strong second or third item on burst mages like Ari or LeBlanc. Ludens with Shadow Flame and Sorc Shoes will offer a ton of magic pen. Against heavy shielding, Shadow could become a staple second or third item for all mages. Riot continues to go all in and emphasize a more durable build for mages as Horizon Focus will have 30 less AP but offer 150 health and 15 ability haste to compensate. Slows will now also proc the Hypershot passive and work with Rylai's. Most champs who build Horizon right now don't have any issues proccing the passive as you can proc it with skill shots that are used from 700 range or longer. Since most champs who build Horizon are longer ranged mages, less AP for more durability isn't necessarily a good trade-off. Say you're playing Xerath and spacing well in teamfights. You shouldn't be taking very much damage, and if you are, it's likely you've been hard engaged onto, where the bonus 150 health won't really mean much. 30 less AP will definitely hurt poke and siege power, so prioritizing Shadow Flame may actually be the play now for artillery mages like Lux, Vel'Koz, and Xerath. The trade-off of less AP for more haste and health continues as Cosmic Drive AP is lowered by 5, but health is increased by 50 and haste is going from 20 to 30. 5% movement speed is tagged on as well. Passive is a Rise and Cassio special, as damaging a champion with 3 separate attacks or spells grants 20% movement speed and 40 AP. This passive will be great for mages who can spam abilities out very quickly, but less effective on pigs like Ziggs or Xerath who want to sit back and poke with one spell. It's almost as if their entire mage item rework was catered towards Rise, as all the health and bonus movement speed is going to help him drastically. Crazy thing to note is that there isn't a cooldown on this passive either, so if you're constantly spamming abilities, you can have permanent move speed and AP throughout fights. Everfrost does count as a spell to proc the Cosmic passive faster, so if you were wondering if someone like Sylas would still run Everfrost in a Cosmic build, we definitely expect it. The kiting and sticking power for its users will feel really great. Void Staff is being altered slightly so that it provides you with 5% more magic pen in exchange for 5 less AP and an increased price point of 100 gold. Overall, this just solidifies Void as a highly valuable pickup against comps that are stacking a ton of MR. Demonic Embrace will remain a health shredder with a few adjustments. Health is up by 100 while AP is down by 10. Burn damage from passive is increased for melee from 4.8% max health to 6% max health. It will remain at 4.8% for ranged. Instead of gaining bonus armor and magic resist, you will convert 2% of your bonus health into ability power. Contrary to how most items have been changed, Demonic will offer a more offensive aspect as a result of these changes. The mid-tier list is definitely on the more difficult side to predict heading into 11.23, so take everything with a grain of salt. There are so many mage item additions and alterations that it will take a good patch or two to fully grasp which champions are on top of the meta. If there's one thing we're sure of, it's that item optimization for Rise and Cassio will be a hot topic. There are so many possible combinations and we definitely expect them to become stronger because of it. AD Assassin item changes are positive for many mid laners too, as Zed, Kiana, and Talon are all really strong. Axiom Arc on Zed will do wonders for his solo carry power when snowballing. There are no item changes specifically for ADC, so let's dive right into talking about how the meta will shape out. Lethal Tempo, which we covered at the very start of the video, will be interesting for ADC because the attack speed is down considerably for ranged champs. 30% at max stacks is far less than before, as the lowest attack speed on old Lethal was 40% at level 1. The fact this is a stacking effect now too will make the rune a lot less effective for the early stages. The likelihood of you autoing 6 times in a row to acquire the max stacks in lane is extremely low. For marksmen who want to be aggressive in lane, we don't expect Lethal to be viable. However, for scaling picks like Twitch or Cog, it could have its place. Overall, we see Lethal being a much more optimal rune for melee characters, as the benefit for ranged is quite low. Eclipse buffs are one other notable change that will affect a few ADCs in MF and Xayah. Both champions are already top tier in meta, so they'll only become stronger for 11.23. And finally, for some support focused changes, let's have a look at the Glacial Augment rework. Immobilizing an enemy will cause 3 glacial rays to emerge, slowing them and reducing their damage by 15% against your allies. The fact you need to immobilize a target to proc the rune likely leads to Glacial being phased out as an option for Senna. Senna is one of the few champs who actually used the 11.22 version of Glacial, and based on these changes, it looks like Riot wants it to be run on hard engage supports. Select tank top lane picks like Cho'Gath, Ornn, or Maokai could also benefit from the rune. These champs like to take Grasp into melee matchups, but against ranged where you aren't able to consistently proc Grasp, the Glacial Slow will give you immense sticking power to stay on ranged picks. The massive change for support is a new item addition that will favor hard engage picks. Evan Shroud is the item name, and will provide 200 health, 20 haste, 30 armor, and 30 MR. Passive is exactly like the old passive from Abyssal Mask, as you will increase the damage the enemy takes when you immobilize them. It's not actually just the target you immobilize, but all nearby enemies will take 12% extra damage for 5 seconds. The Mythic passive will grant all other legendary items 5 armor and magic resist. Leona mains are frothing at the mouth right now, as this is the perfect item to accelerate an early lead. Nautilus, Alistar, Blitzcrank, Thresh, the list goes on, as any engaged support will be loving Evan Shroud as the snowbally support mythic. So that your damage isn't completely off the charts as a support, the passive damage on Zeke's Convergence is being lowered to level the playing field. This makes a lot of sense, as the item combo of Even Shroud into Zeke's will be a great core build for many picks, and the damage potential from both is quite insane. Knight's Vow is also being changed into an even stronger protector for your carries. Instead of gaining bonus movement speed towards allies when they drop low on health, you will increase the damage reduction from 10 to 20%. Riot is shifting things around so that you have a clear offensive core of Evan Shroud into Zeke's, and if you want a more defensive build path, a Locket into Knight's Vow will do the trick. Alright, with all the changes out of the way, let's finish off by breaking down the support tier list. Blitzcrank remains a top tier pick, while Maokai and Leona will be joining him in OP tier. Evan Shroud is going to be massive for Maokai, especially as his point and click route from W is guaranteed to trigger the Evan Shroud passive. Look out for all engaged supports to see an uptick in power. A bit of theory crafting here, but the new Glacial Augment combined with Evan Shroud on Maokai could be absolutely nuts. Crazy sticking power so that your ADC can stay in range and benefit greatly from the Evan Shroud passive. Alright guys, before we wrap this up, let's tell you a little more about SkillCapped. So, we offer a 5-division rank up guarantee, and think that's a pretty crazy thing to offer. It's like a gym membership guaranteeing you'll get ripped. Your local gym would go bust if they offered that, right? Not us. We've offered this for years because our service really does work. It works so well, in fact, that we're able to produce by far the largest catalog of premium league guides on the internet. We add over 20 videos a week, with over 1,600 guides curated into over 100 courses no one can compare. We've also sent challenger players into ELO Hell 714 times and counting, where they commentate how to carry live. They also respond to all questions asked. Sign up today for as little as $4.99 a month if you are serious about improving. So, now that you're all up to date with every single item and rune change heading into preseason, have fun out there, and we will catch you in the next one.